good evening. Thank you, everyone, for attending. This is the Planning Commission meeting of August. This is August the 31st, 2020. We will open the meeting by standing and saying the pledge to flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the May 27th meeting. Are there any additions or correction to those minutes?
I will move to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from the last meeting. All those in favor of approving the minutes, just please raise your hand so I can see it. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next order of business is for any citizens' comments. I will tell the participants or attendees, these are comments of things that are not on the agenda this evening. Do we have anyone? I don't think we have anyone who wanted to make any other comments other than the things that are on the agenda.
If they do, please press *9 on your phone so you can raise your hand and we can recognize you. And we do have one person, so I'll go ahead and unmute them.
Okay, I see that. Yes. The person that had the phone number, you may speak. Please say your name and your address.
I think I raised my hand by accident.
Okay.
I guess he's not going to speak. Bear with us, everyone. This is new territory as always. This is a different type of meeting than we've had before because we are allowing the attendees to come in to the meeting as well. Suzanne.
Hello.
Can you unmute?
I just want, I thought I did.
Okay, no, you're fine. Go ahead, Suzanne. Thank you.
Great. I just want to say I've been a resident of Mount Airy, not in the town limits, but in the outer lying area for over 35 years. And I am not happy about losing our small town to a big office park. I'd like to learn more about what the plan is for that. I think the traffic on Route 27 will be awful. It's already bad enough in that area, and I don't see a plan to address that. I'd like to, hear what the thoughts are on how to address the traffic in that area. And I think one of the ideas that I've heard that the reason this wants to be put in place as an office park, and correct me if I'm wrong calling it an office park.
Roxanne, excuse me,
yes.
Suzanne, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Roxanne, if it's an item that's on the agenda, we should wait until we discuss that to bring it up. We should wait till that agenda item gets into play before we start letting citizens talk about something. If it's an item that's on the agenda, if it's something that's not on the agenda, we can talk about that now. I'm sorry, Suzanne, that's
okay.
We
that
can
is
ask
on
Tom,
the
but that's
agenda.
Yes, ma'am, it is on the agenda, and I
will wait.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. I didn't see the agenda, so I didn't
okay.
know it was on the agenda later, but I will wait.
No, it is.
Speak that. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm too nice. I don't like to cut anybody off. Okay. Anyone else that has any comments not related to the Harrison Leishear or the Twin Arch Park? Okay, seeing none. We'll go to the Carroll and Frederick County Planner. I'll talk first about Tim Goodfellow. He did send me an email and apologized he would not be in attendance this evening. He had another commitment, but we got an email from him, so I sent him one back and said thank you for for letting us know. But I think he is coming either the next meeting or the October meeting. I can't remember. The next is Hannah. Are you here?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
Good. Yes.
I guess I should start out with the other items before getting to the rezoning request. At the county, we are just wrapping up the annual report, and as I'm told, Mount Airy has already certified their portion. So we're just going to other municipalities now, and then we'll go to the County Planning Commission in October. And we just finished the spring water and sewer amendment, but we're about to start the fall water and sewer amendment. So you might get an email from Price Wagner coming up. And I think that's it for other items. But for the employment campus request, it was originally going to be heard by the Planning Commission again on Wednesday, but we have received a lot of public comment, not just about that Mount Airy's request, but all over the county. So we decided it would be easier and less confusing to break it into 3 separate meetings. So the employment campus will now be heard on September 30th, and that is also a night meeting. That'll be at 6 o'clock. So if you guys have any questions before then, feel free to reach out, and any citizens that have any questions, feel free to reach out. My name is Hannah Weber, and my email and phone number is on the county website. Does the Planning Commission have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you mean by 3 separate meetings? And then you just referenced one date.
Yes, so originally we had 3 different groupings for all 30 requests. So we're splitting it between this Wednesday, the 2nd,
Okay.
and then September 15th, and then September 30th.
Okay. Great.
So the employment campus will be on September 30th.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hannah, Roxy,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
ahead, John.
I just wanted to make sure that the citizens that are listening as an attendee in this meeting, could you reference the actual numbers so that they understand that this is a parcel, 2 parcels away from the Harrison's, your parcel?
Yes, we have been getting a little bit of confusion, which is completely understandable. This staff report is for the rezoning request. The request can be found on the county website under Carroll Rezoning under EC 13-2020-0030. The request is going from conservation to employment campus, and the entire staff report can be found online. And like I said, if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me.
And I think we also have a copy of that staff report.
Yeah,
John?
it is part of this agenda,
Okay.
and on our Civic Plus link, I did attach it to that as well.
Okay,
So for
thank you.
citizens in the area can be more informed. Thank you, Hannah, for
Thank you. I do want to say, Hannah, I know that John tried to get in on the meeting the first time,
Yeah.
and he could not get in to make any comments. So
Mhm.
I'm really glad that you've decided to reschedule this. But I
Right.
want to make sure that everyone can get in and speak, because he had some things to speak to that
Mhm.
we had concerns about. And the other thing was, the comment was made that we were okay with this. We have concerns. We're
Right.
we're not okay. I mean,
Mhm.
so I don't know how that got to you all that we were okay with this.
Yeah.
There is a letter that is, John
Mhm.
has
Yes.
made,
John
and I
sent
want you
that
to
us
please
last
make
week.
sure that that gets to everyone on the commission.
Yes, John sent that to me, Miss Eisenberg, and Mary Lane, and he also sent that to the Planning Commission as well. And we'll
Okay.
be sure to include that in the presentation on the 30th.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Yes.
Hannah, quick question, Bill Butts. Are you going to be able to stay with the meeting the rest of the time we're on tonight? So when we get to additional discussion, if someone has a question or you have a comment, we'd get to hear it?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'll be here.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions for me?
I don't see any at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. The next thing is the discussion on ordinance 2020-21, the adequate facilities related to the police to citizen ratio. Larry, are you on here? So you can, there he is. John, you're muted.
Okay.
I see, I just sent him the link. There he is. I just sent him the
Okay.
link. So he should be coming online here as a panelist.
All right.
Okay,
I
are
think
you
I'm in
there,
there
Larry?
now. I'm here if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Ordinance 2020-21. Basically, what I'm trying to do is get us 24-hour police coverage in the APFO, which I consider a minimum requirement, or I would consider that to be when we would be adequate. And with the town of 10,000 people, ratio of 1.2 as opposed to the one officer per 1,000 residents in town, I think is where our APFO needs to stand. So basically what the ordinance does is brings us up to speed so we can get 24-hour coverage in a town of 10,000 people. So we go from 1 to 1.2, and then there's a little bit of verbiage change on there in the same sentence. So, whatever planning thinks about that, if y'all can make a recommendation and send it back to the council, and I can answer any basic questions if you'd like to ask anything.
Hey, Larry.
Okay,
This is Judy. I have a quick question. What's the fiscal impact on changing this?
The fiscal impact, each officer, I believe, comes in during the budget discussion. I think it was about 140 or 100, it might have even been 180,000 when you factor in the car, the officer, and all the impacts that come with hiring an additional officer.
And this would allow for, so it's not necessarily one additional officer, it would be because because of shift work and everything, you're saying all you need is one more officer to be able to allow for 24-hour availability of police officers.
Yeah, what the chief and Kurt have always contended from the beginning is that to provide 24-hour coverage in the town as it stands right now with a population near 10,000 is 12 officers to provide that 24-hour coverage. During the budget discussion in May, we added one officer on top of the 10 that we currently have. So we're up to 11. So we're real close. And then if this goes into effect, then, come around budget time next year, or if any further development goes on in town that brings in added residents, then we would probably have to plus up by one officer. If this passed, we would definitely have to plus up by one officer to be adequately, have an adequate police force.
And what do we do now?
Well, right now we have 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. We don't have coverage, and we have agreements with the counties, and that's how we get our coverage is we're using outside sources.
so we have no town police coverage during that time.
Yeah, I believe it's 3
Okay.
to 5 a.m.
So
And
what is,
what's the cost of that compared to the cost of hiring an additional officer?
Well, we could keep doing the county agreement, and there is no added cost to that. We're currently doing that. If we're going to add this,
No, I assume we're paying the county to do that. So what's the difference in what we're paying the county compared to not paying the county, but instead hiring a new officer?
Well, I don't believe there is a cost. I would verify that, but we have agreements with the county,
Okay.
and those agreements work both ways. There could be.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So have there been any issues or problems with
From
this
3 to 5
current-
a.m.?
Yeah, the current arrangement?
Yes, we've had vandalism in Twin Ridge that's occurred between 3 and 5 a.m. And we end up having to get county help. And the impact of that is you don't have somebody on scene. So you're waiting for somebody to show up. So that's the impact of it is you have an amount of time in the day where you're relying on the county to respond, and that's an increased response time.
And has overtime been explored?
Well, yeah, but this is more a matter of how much you can get out of the personnel that you currently have. So we're already doing overtime for, different events and everything. And I guess you can only get so much blood out of a turnip, is what I'm saying.
Well, I assume they're getting paid overtime.
Well, of course they're getting paid, and if you like overtime, and you
Yeah.
got 2 kids in college.
That's right. That's right. So I don't mean to keep asking questions, but this is
No, it's
the
fine.
first I heard of this, and there's not a lot of other information. Maybe I missed something earlier in the whatever, but my recollection is that initially there was proposal for additional officers, and there was a lot of opposition to that, which is why I'm trying to figure out.
Well, if
Yeah, you could explain because you probably
the
remember.
opposition that you're talking about is in terms of funding and added officer. Certainly we had discussions, with the more fiscally conservative crowd that was reluctant to pay and as I'm recollecting it was about 180,000. That's a significant chunk of change. In my mind, as a councilman, I mean, our number one responsibility is to keep the town safe. And I think at a minimum, we ought to have 24-hour coverage in town. I would rather pay for an added officer and subtract money from somewhere else. I feel like 24-hour coverage is a minimum requirement.
As I remember, that's what we were supposed to have by having our own police force, was that we would have 24-hour coverage.
Mm-hmm.
That was the goal.
Right, but that wasn't the goal. I mean, it wasn't going to start out that way, correct? As we added officers, it would get up to 24 hours. Is that correct?
That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. Initially we were, I think when we entered this, and certainly we've had to learn as we've, come into our own police force. But initially we thought we could get away with basically what we were using from the state police, which was having 2 or 3 people down here. As the police force has matured, what we found is that, there are a lot of added requirements that go into our police department. And I think that, we were pretty quick. And when I say we, it happened before I was elected, to ramp up to 10 officers. And I believe that that got us close, but it still left that gap, from 3 to 5 a.m. So I think this is, as we have learned more about, our police department, at least I've come to realize that, it's that 1.2 ratio that provides us 12 officers and 24-hour coverage. Looking into the future, if we grow at the rate that, that downtown vision plan, kind of suggests, then you're looking at a population that would add, and I'm not saying I support or don't support, I don't want to get into a side conversation on that, but, we could bring upwards of 1,400 people added into this town. And so that would put us somewhere around 11,400 people. And we may ramp up to, with the 1.2 ratio, 13 to 14 officers. So that's kind of where we're headed as I think as a police department. And if I can, not to, take too much time away from your questions, but the I have looked at some other municipalities, and the APFO is a minimum, and there are numerous municipalities that actually employ above the APFO to get that sense of safety for their different communities with their different issues. So
I guess I have a couple thoughts. One is that I guess I'm concerned about where we're getting the money from, and what you talked about. We could, this is more important, and we could take it from someplace else. That someplace else, I guess I'm wondering what that is, because it's only been a couple years, and we've gone from having 4 state police officers to now having 11, and we're saying we need more. And I didn't think the crime rate has gone up that significantly in Mount Airy. I'm not saying that I support safety. I'm not against all of it. I guess I'm just looking at the money and what the crime rate really is, that all of a sudden we've gone from 4 to needing 12 at minimum, and where the money's coming from.
okay, well, like I said, I'm basing it on 24-hour coverage as the minimum requirement. The other reason that I'm pushing to get this now is that, in front of potentially some development occurring, I would like for this to be known now before the developers come in and start talking about growth in Mount Airy, because I'd like to have that minimum requirement established at this point, as opposed to being reactive later.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One is a follow-up to Judy's, which is, do we know where the money would come from? Or, I mean, is there, I think that there probably is money in the budget, or are you actually really looking at taking money away from some other services in order
I'm
to
not
do
looking at anything happening this current fiscal year. I'm looking at next fiscal year, that we would look at the APFO requirement, and as part of next year's budget negotiations, we would figure out how to get the money to add an officer next fiscal year.
Okay. My second question has to do with the APFO, and is it a requirement to amend the APFO in order for the town to hire an additional officer if the town council thought that was necessary?
No, it is not a requirement to have it in the APFO to go higher.
Okay. And I tell you what concerns me about it is, if you have it in the APFO, then it becomes a requirement, like as you said a few minutes ago, that it could be up to 14, 15, rather than just saying, all right, we the town council have decided, next fiscal year, that we're going to allocate this additional money and we're going to hire another officer. And then that's the council's choice if that passes, as opposed to putting it in the APFO and then it becomes a requirement, sort of automated, rather than having to be discussed and voted on each time. So that would be another concern of mine.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. My sense is I would rather get it in the APFO and have a developer have to look at it and come up with a solution with us, as opposed to us, going out there and hiring the added officer.
So you're saying that you think the developer would have to contribute financially to hiring the officer. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that he would have to meet the adequate public facilities ordinance, which means some sort of creativity has to occur for that developer to develop. So yes, I can't tell you how that money would show up.
I just looking for clarity. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Larry, I have a related question. We've been renting space for the police force for a while now.
Yes.
And one of the thoughts was, ideally, we'd like to try to create a permanent space for them. 2 or 3 different possible future locations have been mentioned. Do you have a preferred time frame, or do you have a projected time frame within which we would try to make that happen?
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of dominoes that are kind of falling in our town. And I think that, we are looking at several locations right now and even have a concept of what the police department building, police station would look like. And I would think that, within probably 2 years, we would be committing to something.
Okay.
Meaning a building, and hopefully within 2 years, we would have the property to put it on.
Okay, thank you. I'll just, there have been some comments here. I want to make sure we get everyone in. The chairperson for Streets and Roads said, thank you, Councilman Hushour, for putting the safety of our residents first. The APFO should be met. Does anyone, excuse me, else on the commission have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Tom, we're just looking for a recommendation for or against the APFO of this ordinance, correct?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Hold on, there's one other comment. Dick Swanson has shared in a Facebook comment, Larry is correct, the nationwide rate of police to residents is higher to Mount Airy's ration proposed in this APFO proposal. I'm going to just ask since it's just a recommendation for this APFO, all those council members, planning commission members, excuse me, that are for the ordinance, please raise your hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? 1.
No, 2 at least.
2, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Okay, so it's 4 to 2.
So are we missing someone?
No, we only have 6. We always only have 6.
Scott, because she doesn't vote.
Right, unless it's a tie.
Right.
So we are sending this back, Larry, to the town council, recommending approval of this ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next item of business is Resolution 2020-43, the joint annexation discussion of the Hairston Leishear property. Before we start, I want to give a little introduction, kind of in how this is going to work and what we have been doing. I want to thank everyone who has sent in an email or a comment. In order for us, there are 20 people tonight that are going to speak. So in order to expedite things, those emails that we have received, and the commissioners did all receive them and have read them. They're also going to be made part of the record on the website, so that they will be, a few of the emails ask it to be, please put in as part of the record. It will be considered part of the record for this meeting. I also want to say, before we get started, this property was recognized in the 2013 master plan for future annexation into the town. So it hasn't just come about. There's been a lot of things that have happened between now and then. The request for annexation did not come in, and there have been meetings with a member of our council, and that member, Carl Munder, has, every time there was a meeting, has given an update on the property. I will be naming you. I have the list of people who want to speak. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Like I said, there are 20 of you here. If you think that, and everyone is important, and I know that a lot of people are going to be saying the same thing, but if you think that what you have said has already been said, I would ask you to yield to the next person. The first person we're going to have speak, I think, Carl, if you want to give an update on the Hairston Leishear, and then we're going to have Frank Gertzball, the representative of IDA, speak to this annexation. We'll have the Planning Commission ask any questions, and then we will open it to the public. Okay, Carl.
All right, sorry, wasn't planning on speaking, but I'll pretty much go over the update that I have presented to the council at previous meetings, particularly the one from July 6, 2020. A couple things first.
Carl, before you do this, I'm sorry, can you just kind of hit some highlights?
Sorry, well,
can.
as I said, Roxanne, I wasn't just playing like highlights of as in what area.
So I apologize.
Hold
Hold
on, John.
Oh, terrible, John.
Carl's annexation, part of this. I just sort of talked about him.
John, we can't hear you. You're all garbly.
Is that any better?
No, sorry.
Roxanne,
Yes.
Roxanne, maybe Carl could use his.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go over.
Okay, can you share that with us? Can you put it up on the screen?
Me or John? John has control. I have no control over this.
John, can you put the update on the screen? 1 minute. 1 minute.
Carl, as a panelist, you do have the ability if you'd like.
I was thought you did.
Oh, well, as I said, this is kind of
Who doesn't
new
want to
to
have to do that?
me. I would rather let John do it because I'm not sure if I gave you access to my screen, what'll pop up.
That's not very.
I'm
That's
using dual screens
disconcerting,
here, Roxanne, so I don't want to be popping up the.
No, it's fine. You might have private.
That's true.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
No, you're no better. I'm sorry. Okay, let's, instead of that, I'm sorry. So Carl, are there anything that you can contribute real quick?
Well, let me just go over, hold on. Let me start off in a couple pages down in the presentation. Basically starting a couple things first. There have been no development plans shown or submitted to town. This process is for the annexation. There we go. Thank you, John.
Go
down to about page 3, John. There you go. Good. Go down. There you go. As I said, there's been no development plans shown or submitted to town. This process is for the annexation of the Harrison Leishear property only. There seemed to have been some confusion that the Hushour property that the county planner referenced to earlier might be part of this. That is not the truth. And as far as I know, the town has no interest in annexing the Hushour property whatsoever, or our water and sewer being extended to that property. If approved for annexation, the development of the property will go through the normal approval process. And as this meeting shows, the public will be allowed to submit comments during the annexation process and the development approval process if the parcel is annexed. Next one, John, please. Overview of the Leishear property.
I think if you just do that, I think we're good to go.
Okay. As it shows here, this is an overview of as the annexation agreement has in it as the property would be divided up. The best way to describe it is the power lines are the dividing line there. Anything south of the power lines would be in the OPE zone of the town, which is the town classification that would be applied to that. The just north of the power lines in the upper left of the map is approximately 40 acres for future use. And as per the agreement, that cannot be developed until that southern portion is fully developed. And if I'm remembering correctly, if that future use ever does come into town, it has to bring its own water to it, and it will have to go through all the process again. So there's nothing guaranteed on that. And to the right of that is the parkland that would be dedicated to the town of approximately 85 acres to be developed as the town sees fit as parks, which could be fields, walking trails, combination of anything.
Okay,
But I think that's good enough, Roxanne. Is that, does anybody
I
else,
think-
does any of the commission members have?
Gina is also putting up the direct link for the public. It is on the agenda, and you can get the entire report from Carl from that. I just kind of, that's good. I just kind of wanted him to highlight, especially the size and what was going to happen as far as those that property is concerned.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Leslie.
Yes.
What is a water loop?
The water loop is something that the town engineer suggested as a way to, I want to say, a backup water access to the Nottingham community. It's my understanding that currently the Nottingham community is only fed by one pipe, so this would guarantee like a backup access if something went wrong with it.
Okay.
Is Barney's not here anymore?
Oh,
He was here.
He's muted.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh. Was that what he said, Barney?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not just for Nottingham, but it's just for our water system in general. You do want to connect your links so that you don't have single points of failure.
Okay.
Next, we'll hear from the developer or the representative for the developer, the developer's IDA. The representative this evening is Frank Dirtsball.
Yeah, good evening. I'm a representative from the IDA Board of Directors. I'm the secretary of the county authorized corporation Industrial Development Authority. I just will make a short statement here of introduction as much as anything. And I was asked to become a volunteer board member of the Industrial Development Authority of Carroll County about 11 years ago by one of, the board member president and Bob Scott. And he felt that I could help with the commissioner's plan to have the IDA develop the Harrison Leishear property, knowing that it could have a significant impact on the community of Mount Airy. And he knew that I had spent most of my life living and working with the public and the private sector of this community. He felt I could contribute a constructive view on the best approaches to develop this property with an eye on the town's needs and concerns and the county's need to make this property an economic asset. And just for the record, I have no financial incentives or investments in this project. The IDA is a voluntary member appointed corporation that is charged with developing business activity in all of Carroll County and that promote positive economic health for the citizens of Carroll County. And as we have been charged, the county wants this property fully developed, and I want my hometown of Mount Airy to benefit as much as possible with the least amount of objectionable impact. As long as we continue to expand in population growth in this world right now, growth is inevitable with our proximity to Baltimore, Washington, and Frederick. It's going to take 10 to 20 years or even more to fully develop this project. So my wish is that we develop insightful planning that will promote the best economic and community welfare benefits for the generations to follow. So I am in this with my heart and trying to use the best available resources we have and hopefully work together to make this happen for the full benefit of all concerned. And I'm here and I will be the point person for the most part for most of the planning and zoning process that goes on with this, other than legal details on this.
Okay, thank you, Frank. There was one question concerning the water loop, Barney. Maybe you can answer this. Some of
Yes.
us have heard that the water would supply for future Nottingham development. Is this correct? Or John, I don't.
So Nottingham development is pretty much complete. There are other properties that, I guess you have Dobbs property that's next to it that could in the future come in as an annexation, but there's nothing earmarked for where that water would go at this time.
Correct.
Another question was, can less be developed? I think you're talking about the Harrison Leishear property. At this point in time, do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I would ask for, and Barney and Frank, you don't have to do it necessarily tonight. I think we're going to have an extended conversation about this. But obviously, one of the original motivators for us to consider a possible annexation, and when we were updating the master plan that culminated in 2013, it was pretty clear to us that we were interested only in moderate growth, and quite honestly, unless there was a compelling reason to expand the outline of the town, we didn't see a need for it or a justification for it. We saw instead the opportunity and the priority to look at infill. One of the things that is going to be an issue, and there's going to be some talk about it, is the water capacity that apparently has been proven that in terms of existing wells that that this property has available, and the backup that could provide to the town. Barney, can you speak to that watershed and that capacity? And I think even for folks who live outside of that property, there's a concern about how much of that might be pulled out and if that might endanger them going forward.
Yeah, sure. So right now we have vacant land or land that might be redeveloped in the future that could benefit from water. So as far as infill property, like you said, not expanding except for Harrison Leishear, because that is where the water is now. But we probably have, we have projected amounts of water that we're going to need for just regular infill development. And that's in our master plan. And, there's at least a couple 100,000 gallons that we'd be looking for. And from this Harrison Leishear property, the town will benefit about 90,000 gallons. So it doesn't even get us to full infill development, but it takes us, a good step towards it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Roxanne, I mean, I have questions, but can we speak after the community?
Yes.
Because they might be answered or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Someone just asked where the Dobbs property is that we keep mentioning. John, do you want to try to come on again and explain where that is?
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, nothing changed. So I'm not sure. I was looking for an external microphone. I apologize. So the Dobbs property is to the east of Nottingham community. And that currently there's no plan that's under review for that parcel. So I think initially, I'm not sure Barney might be able to speak to it better than I. When that Dobbs property first came in to the town for, I guess maybe a concept plan or preliminary concept. I'm not sure exactly the total amount of houses. And again, that's really, we're getting off topic to what we're talking about today, I think. But I'm not sure, Barney, can you elaborate on that at all? I don't know.
Well, the question came up. I want to make sure that, a resident asked someone on Facebook Live asked that question. So I just, wanted to make sure they got recognized. So we're trying to work, it is on Facebook Live too. So we're trying to do two things at one time. At this point in time, there are some comments that have come in on Facebook. What I'm going to do, like Leslie said, is I'm going to allow the people to start speaking because we do have 20 people to speak. That's 3 minutes. So that right there is an hour. And then we will answer, maybe some of your questions will be answered at that point in time. By no means are we going to make a decision tonight. We have 120, the Planning Commission, have 120 days to get this back to the town council. We are not in a rush to get this back. That's why we're asking for people's comments. And as far as developmental questions, environmental impact, traffic studies, those are part of the development and site plan process. So I'm going to start. These are in just in the order, I guess, that they came into the email or were sent to John. So I'm going to start right now. The first person I have here is Randall Kemp. And when you come on, would you please restate your name and your address slowly so we can know if you're within the town limits or not. Thank you. Gina,
yeah, if they could raise their hand either by pressing *9 on their phone or using their screen to click on raise my hand so I can find them. I don't see that name listed.
Okay.
Okay, I got one.
Did you find him?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are unmuted.
Okay, Randall, go ahead and speak, please. I think that's not him. I'm going by the list that I have. I don't know who KJ is.
That would be me. My name is Kelly Double.
Kelly?
Yes.
Just a minute. Did you request to speak tonight?
I did.
Okay, I see it. Thank you. Just has to take me a couple minutes. Okay.
No problem. I want to thank you all for having me tonight. I guess a couple questions.
Your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have two. I'm outside of Mount Airy, resident-wise, 8129 Bennett Branch Road, but I have a house in town at 224 Hoff Court.
Okay.
I guess there's several questions. I reviewed the annexation, and I heard our town engineer state that there would be a possibility of an additional 100,000 gallons of water a day. I reviewed what the wells were yielding, and in the annexation, it states that they're hoping to get 152,000 gallons a day. But it talks about 60% for the employment campus, 20% for parcel A, and only 20% for the town development. That yields 30,000 gallons a day for us. It falls far short. In fact, calculating out how many homes that would supply, that is only 100 homes. The other concern I have, and maybe you guys can answer it, I'm very familiar with this fractured rock aquifer that Mount Airy sits over top of. And one of the things that has come up is a Miss Hendricks who spoke to our town engineer while there was a development of the wells over there, or testing of the wells. And she had cloudiness, what tells me is by the flow rate, you guys have hit the aquifer. Now in this fractured rock aquifer, you have what's known as pipeline fractures. How many town wells, or how many well residents are going to be affected? We already know of one by just you testing. And And once you start drawing down the aquifer, how many wells are going to dry up? So I can see the great concern of overdrafting groundwater. The other thing is MDE's recharge area. Do you have enough open space ground to recharge that aquifer? Because you're talking about 30% of impervious surfaces, and that MDE's formulation is based on 10% impervious surfaces. The other, and I'll end with this, in the minutes of IDA, it spoke of the town changing in the annexation agreement. And Mr. Minich proposed to proceed with the prior agreement, and it basically sounds like he's unwilling to negotiate. So annexing this property into the town, what is our guarantee that you guys will actually have any say? To me, that's a red flag. If he's already saying that he wants to proceed and not willing to sit down at the table and hear Mount Airy's concerns and changes, you know, what I don't know if the town would have control over building, you know, what they're looking for. I think the county will probably walk over top of the town. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just compile all the questions and then we'll go over them as toward the end. Michael Riegel, are you on the list? Could you please raise your hand so we could let you in? There he is. Okay, Mike, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm just here to view the proceedings on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Board. So I appreciate the time to speak, but I'll yield to the other speakers who have something to say.
Okay, you live at 608 Prospect Road?
I do.
Okay, that was the timer. Okay, thank you. Next, I have Bob Carr. Can you raise your hand, please, Bob? Okay, we'll go on to the next one then. Julie, is it Roche? Okay. Marianne Costa? There we go. Marianne, are you with us?
Please unmute herself.
Okay, do you know how to unmute yourself? Or Gina, do you unmute her?
I did press unmute. But she still appears to be muted on her end.
Okay, until she gets unmuted, we'll go on to the next one. Robert McConnell. Can you please raise your hand so so Gina can unmute you?
Should I try the Rod Beach?
How about Sue? Okay, Robert H. I don't know who that is. Did he raise his hand? You'll have to bear with us. There are more people listening than there had to sign up to speak. So I'm trying to go through the list of the people that I have to speak. If at that time we go through the list and they all have either spoken or have not spoken, I'm going to go ahead and ask those that did not register if they would raise their hand so we can hear them as well.
Robert looks like he's on mute.
Well, they're both on mute, but they need to in order to unmute for you to speak, up in the upper right-hand corner of your box, there are 3 dots. If you would click on those dots, one of them says mute and unmute. So if you unmute yourself, you'll be able to speak with us.
I have a Mac and my unmute is at the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, just so you know.
Good to know.
Okay. So Mary Ann, we don't have. Robert never showed up. Susan Dela Cruz. If you could raise your hand so you could be unmuted. Okay. Simone Blanchard.
Just raised his hand.
He raised his hand. Thanks.
There's a lot of comments coming up though, saying people have no access to be able to unmute on their screen that they're seeing.
Hello, this is Simone Blanchard. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, Simone.
Okay, thank you. Mount Airy Planning and Zoning Commission members, Mayor Rockenberg, Town Council members, and Carroll County government officials and Industrial Development Authority board members present tonight. I would like to thank you for your service. My name is Simone Blanchard. I'm a Carroll County resident and active member of the town of Mount Airy. I've lived on Boulter Road for 8 years. I am speaking for myself and about 20 other Boulter Road residents. I do not support town annexation of the 258-acre property collectively known as the Harrison Leishear property and owned by the Carroll County Industrial Authority. The joint annexation resolution states, whereas the general public has been invited to some of the work sessions between the IDA, town council members, and members of town staff in which public comments and questions were received. I would like to see agendas and minutes from any past public work sessions related to this property over the last 4 years in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. I would like to hear from Town Planning Commission members tonight at this meeting and for the public record, the process for ample public comment of the joint annexation agreement number 2020-43 that was introduced to the Town Council and referred to the Town Planning Commission for review on August 3rd, 2020 in the midst of a global pandemic. According to the joint annexation resolution, the entire 258-acre property, including the proposed 80 acres of parkland and the 129 acres of business park and the 43 acres for future development, would be zoned office employment park. This designation permits uses such as hotels with conference centers, biomedical technology facilities, and hospitals, and allows for special exceptions such as the bulk storage of oil, petroleum, gasoline, and similar flammable liquids and compressed gases for the purpose of on-site use. In the proposed annexation agreement, the town would get access to water for the wells on the property for future water needs of town residents. The town would also receive tax revenue from the 129-acre business park that is developed on the land, as well as 80 acres for parkland. The Carroll County Industrial Development Authority would be granted access to the town sewer as part of this deal, something they desperately need from the town in order to develop this land without spending millions of dollars to build a sewage facility on the property. Carroll County residents living in 21771, where the suggested entrance to the business park will be, stand to lose the most from this deal and get the least in return. Planning Commission members, I urge you to provide an unfavorable recommendation to the mayor and town council. Thank you.
In answer to your question, Judy, about I think they had to register so they would be able to unmute. I can't, is that true, Gina? Help me out with that.
If they are on this meeting, they should be able to either see on their screen where they can unmute themselves or, like I said, star 9 to raise their hand.
Okay, thank you. Is Susan Dela Cruz on the? Okay.
Roxanne.
Yes.
So I think let's ask Tom, but I'm pretty sure Simone would have to submit a PIA for the information she's requesting.
Yes,
and not just doing it through an open meetings.
Right,
So
I was just gonna do that at the end, but yes. Could you, Next I have Sue and Phil, is it Rabel from Butler Road? If you could raise your hand so we could unmute you. I see Phil's name. Okay, this is not working. Okay, he's on. Can you unmute yourself, Phil? All right, there you go. Phil, state your name and your address, please. Hello? I don't know why we can't hear Phil, but he's on the meeting. I'll go on and come back to you, Phil. Lauren Parr.
Hi, I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you to everyone who put the meeting together and also allowed for many members of the public to come in. My name's Lauren Parr, and I've lived here since 2013. My son attends Mount Airy Middle School now. He's about to start virtually. And I live in Falling Green, 3715 Falling Green Way. We have a wonderful community, very active community. And I just want to remind all of us and all of you how special this community is. And it's special because we have things that no one else has. We have a lot of open space. We have wonderful access to wildlife. We have wonderful access to forested and wetland properties. And all of this development is going to come at a terrible price. We don't want to be Germantown. We don't want to be Gaithersburg. And while we want smart development, there is an kind of an unending amount of unfilled office space and unfilled development that's already occurred in Carroll County and in Mount Airy. We don't need this development. And this development hurts the people who love this county the most and who love this town the most. So I would ask that you really think hard about the development and you really listen to the people who are talking to you and trying to get your attention and trying to say this ruins our quality of life in Mount Airy. And it comes at a cost that I think is just far too enormous in terms of what we would gain in terms of traffic and pollution and congestion on Route 27. So thank you.
Let's go back. Steve Trice. Hi, Steve. Can you give your name and where you live, please?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. My name is Steve Trice. I live at 4066 Butler Road. My property directly backs to the Harrison Leishear property. And additionally, like Simone, I'm speaking on behalf of many of the other homeowners here on Butler Road who share my concerns and asked us to speak on their behalf tonight. We oppose the annexation and any potential development of the Harrison Leishear property. We don't believe it to be in the best interest of Mount Airy or its residents. Any development on that property will introduce massive traffic problems, which we are already dealing with. For example, it can take 3 light cycles for us to be able to turn left onto 27 from Watersville. Adding on to that, the ongoing Center Street connection and development talks that were mentioned earlier, we're looking at catastrophic traffic woes. And what then? More traffic lights, wider highways, which leads to more crime, more police, which we were already talking about earlier, which means more taxes, more water, etc. Mount Airy is a small rural community, and the citizens I've spoken to personally do not want more growth, especially an employment campus. Despite what the representatives from IDA might think, we do not want to be the next Gaithersburg. People move to Mount Airy to get away from congestion and other development. Have there been studies or reports on the existing vacant business properties around Mount Airy today? It only takes a ride around town to see quite a few. And in today's new world of business moving to virtual employees, why would we want a business park which will likely sit vacant? We believe that without the annexation, the IDA would be forced to abandon plans to develop the property because they'd have to build their own water and sewage treatment facilities, making the development no longer viable. If for some reason the citizens of Mount Airy were to have a referendum and vote for annexation and development of the Harrison-Leishear property, we Boatler Road residents would request conditions to be put on that annexation to ensure much of our way of life goes unimpacted. And I've got a series of concerns that I listed. I'll spare you those. I emailed those in
Yeah, I have them.
to the commission. But the last one I'd like to hit on is that if that were to be annexed, we're concerned about the location of the proposed business park on the property. The way the proposal exists today, an 80-acre business park is proposed to be directly behind all of the attached properties on Boatler Road. This is detrimental to our property values, will cause 24-hour noise and light pollution, and will cause an increase in crime. We urge the town to consider swapping the proposed business park location with the proposed parkland location slated for the northern portion of the property. Carroll County and the IDA are dangling water acquisition and potential future tax revenue in front of the town to get them to annex the property. Then once the property is annexed and rezoned as an employment campus, the IDA will be able to build their commercial properties. We believe the town is blinded by their thirst for water and tax revenue and not taking into account the traffic issues this will bring, the property value decline, and potential well issues for the homes on Boatler Road. And we question if the town really needs this water to satisfy its current situation. Additionally, the middle of a pandemic is not the time to be making such critical decisions about the nature of our beautiful town, while citizens, as we've seen tonight, cannot effectively join together to voice their opinions. We keep being told by those in the know that this is going to happen with or without our consent and with or without the annexation. Please say no to the annexation and let the IDA figure out something else to do with their property. Your neighbor, Steve Trice. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person I have is Terry Baker. If he could raise his hand so we could let him in.
Terry, you are unmuted.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Terry, can you hear us? Do you have a microphone and is your audio up? Is your volume up? Hello? I'm going to come back to you, Terry. There's one person who said that she was having problems with her connection, but she's on now. That was Marianne Costa. She has her hand raised. Gina. Okay.
I'm having a hard time finding her.
She's right at MC. She's right. Well, she's right after Simone.
Right at the top of the attendees list, Gina.
Yeah, she's close to the top.
There's also a call-in number that people can call in on with that same Zoom invite that was sent out to them. If they're having problems through their computer, they could call into that number as well.
Oh, Terry has already said he's not going to speak at this time.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Marianne.
Hi, I'm Marianne. Hi, I'm Marianne Costa. Thank you for taking my call. I'm sorry I had technical
difficulties.
That's okay. I live over in Falling Green neighborhood, and I'm opposed to annexation, and I'm opposed to the development of the property. And the reason why is because I feel that the thought process so far has not been in depth enough. I believe that there's going to be an environmental impact to the wetlands and the wildlife in the area. There's also going to be a traffic impact. trying to make a left-hand turn heading southbound on 27 is dangerous. Lauren, can you mute yourself? And then there's a traffic impact coming down on 27. It's very dangerous. We know we have fatalities happening on that road, and further development will cause more risk to our residents. I also am concerned about the disruption to the community balance. There's housing, residential communities all around there, and it's going to cause an imbalance. None of us moved to Carroll County to live next to an office building. We all moved here to enjoy this beautiful surrounding area. If we wanted to live next to office buildings, we would have chosen Howard County, Montgomery County, or Frederick County. There's also a lack of demand for office space. Through this pandemic, we've all learned how to be able to work virtually, and we're doing it really well. As of the second quarter of 2020, the Maryland office vacancy had already declined by 14.4%. I expect this to be a further decline in the way that we're seeing a decline in retail spaces as well. Brick and mortar businesses will continue to decline, so investing any amount of money to build more offices is just going to end up with more vacant properties. I'm also concerned about the water. If 200,000 gallons are pulled out of there, what impact is that going to have to the residents on Butler Road? What impact will that have to Falling Green? Are we going to be left on properties with dry wells? And what's going to happen to our property values? I can't imagine anybody's going to move to Carroll County and say, gosh, I'm excited to move next to an office park. You're going to end up reducing property values, and that's going to in turn reduce the tax assessments, and that's going to in turn reduce the real estate property taxes coming in. And my last point is location. Everyone says in real estate, it's location, location, location. And I've never seen anybody get off I-70 and say, I'd like to drive 7 minutes north on 27 and dream that there would be an office park there. If we were going to put any office parks in Mount Airy, they should be closer to I-70. So those are my concerns. I appreciate you listening and taking the time. In the future, I'd appreciate it if there were more signs that get up to alert the public rather than us hearing it by word of mouth from residents on Butler Road. The residents in Falling Green only heard about this because of the nice friends that we have on Butler Road. So more transparent communication would be appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next I have, I'm making sure I'm trying to double back. Brandon Rakes.
Hi, this is Brandon Riggs. I actually didn't have anything that I needed to
okay.
Listen and agree with a bunch of the comments. I'm not for the annexation, but that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Christine Smith. Are you there, Christine?
I'll see your name on the list.
Okay. The next person then I have is DJ, is it Paisy?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I've been on Butler Road at 3787 since 1986. I built my home here myself with my own hands. And my husband's too. And I have worked in development for years, and I know it's going to happen. When? I might be long dead, but some precautions need to be made in the annexation to cover people, because what happens 20 years down the road, if it's not protected, people could lose their water, and it's a very important issue. I recommend that if you go ahead with the annexation, after considerable considerations, that you have something in there that says I don't know legalese, so whoever writes up the legal things could figure out how to write such a thing. But if neighboring properties lose water, that the town reduce their consumption or offer those people hookup fees, hook up to water with no fees. And I'm suggesting that in the annexation because it could be many, 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 many years. Okay. And the issue on wetlands is a big issue. There's a big wetlands area there. I don't know if you don't see my picture, I guess. So there's a large wetlands area. About a third of the way around the property is all wetlands. And I know from working in the industry for years, there has to be 100-foot buffer from that. And I also know that an industrial or business park should have a buffer also in addition to that. So you're knocking down a lot of property by doing that. The other buffer should be so that there is less noise, and there's one over at Twin Ridge. You'll notice between the industrial area and the housing, there is a large berm that protects the homes from the industrial area, so they don't hear all the noise. But I know from living on Botley Road, I can hear 70 noise. I can hear 27 noise if I have my windows open. Excuse me. The light pollution, oh my gosh, after Walmart could put in, we all could see it. All the way over here even. Those are considerations I want you to look into before you say yay or nay. But I would like to see some addendums into the annexation about water and wetland protection. Yes, I know the state has wetland protections, the counties have wetland protections, but the neighbors want to have some also. We want this area to be conserved equitably for everyone. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Maria McGilloway.
Hi, I'm Maria McGilloway. I'm getting a backlash here. I will yield to the next person. Pretty much Steve has said exactly how I feel regarding this development being pushed through really fast, considering we didn't know anything about it until now. I did know that this was, I thought, originally planned for near Route 70, over near, I think it's Bennett Branch Road. And it got nixed, evidently. It was stopped there. And now it's in my neck of the woods. I live off of Watersville Road. And I believe that the Dobbs property that I think it was your engineer was speaking about was in relation to Nottingham getting water, that it would come from the Dobbs property. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly, but I evidently off of Shadyside Drive am directly in that Dobbs property region, and I'm totally against this because what's it going to do to our wells? I'm completely against this, is all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next I have is Jeremy Gordon.
Yes, hello. I'm actually going to, hi, how are you? Thank you for all of us to voice. I'm actually brand new to the area, moving here from Brookville, Maryland. And I just want to kind of, you know, speak to what everybody else is saying. I moved to Mount Airy and brought my family and my little kids here to get away from all that crap. And I'm telling you all right now, if you haven't lived down in Montgomery County or anything else, you don't want any more people coming to your amazing little town and your amazing little city. I can tell you that right now, for whatever reason, for any economical growth, and I'm in finance, it's just not worth it. And I really don't know all the details, so I can't speak upon them. I'm just learning about them now. But you really don't want to lose what you guys have out here for the benefit of a few. I can tell you that right now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next I have is Ken, is it Collison? Ken, if you can unmute yourself, look at the upper right-hand corner of your box. There's 3 dots. Open the dots and then one of them will say unmute. Gina, can you unmute him?
I have on my end.
Okay.
Again, appreciate everybody's patience with this. I think it's working very well overall, allowing the community to be able to speak. Again, so hopefully we can figure out what the glitches are for people, why they can't unmute themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe we just call on somebody else, Roxanne. To
Yeah,
see
I
if we
am.
can get them
The
up.
last person I have is Lynn Galletti. Okay, Lynn, if you can unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you. For some reason, it's not working. I don't know why, Gina.
We'll work through it. I guess I'm not sure exactly either, and nor does Gina, I'm sure. It seems like there's some feedback.
You just hover your cursor over the bottom of your screen. There should be a little menu that comes up that you can click on unmute.
Lynn, I know that you typed in a chat message before. Do you want to try to do that? Because we're not hearing you.
So, Roxanne, in chat, we while Lynn is unmuting, we do have somebody, Jill Mannion, who said that she emailed in to speak, and I guess she didn't make your list.
I'm just getting the list from John. I'm just now in the process of going through that.
Why don't we? Are we able to open it to her while we?
Yes, if she has her hand raised, she would be able to be unmuted.
It looks like Lynn is unmuted, so
Okay,
she should be able
Lynn.
to speak.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear-
Did you ask me to unmute? I stepped away. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, you were scheduled to speak, so I wanted to give you the chance to speak if there was anything you wanted to say.
Nope. We're just, I just wanted to let the public know that Streets and Roads appreciates everything planning and zoning does. And like planning and zoning, we're here for people if they have any concerns. Thank you for everything you guys do, and town
Thank you,
staff.
Lynn. You too.
And town staff, who a lot of them been working 12 hours now. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Jill Mannion, if you can unmute yourself, we can hear what you have to say.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Chairperson Hemphill and Vice Chairperson Butts and all the members of the Planning Commission and others that are listening tonight. Like Steve and Simone, I speak for myself and about 20 other residents on Butler Road, where we've tried to join our voices together to discuss the overall significant and growing concern regarding the proposed annexation of the Harrison Leishear property and the terms of the proposed annexation agreement. Butler Road residents will be disproportionately impacted by an office development on the subject property. This annexation will result in a rezoning of the property from low density residential and conservation to office, park, employment zoning. In the agreement, there is no consideration given to how rezoning this property from residential use to commercial use will impact residents adjoining the property. Further, as currently written, the office park employment zoning district provides a minimal 50-foot setback from a residential property boundary. For a rezoning that would require a county zoning waiver due to the 50% plus increase in density, the significant impact for residents should be addressed in the agreement to put the developer on notice that minimizing impacts to local residents is a priority for the town. Yet not even the waiver itself is contemplated in the proposed annexation agreement. If the county review agencies deny the waiver, there's a 5-year waiting period before the property can be developed. What is the point of the waiting period if the town's hands are tied to even contemplate an alternative use for the land? Given the topography of the site, the visual impacts as well as light and noise pollution will be significant to our Bottler Road residents. There will be difficulty with crime, traffic, flooding, which is a problem for several residents already in the past. While these are usually typical concerns that a planning commission will always hear when there is a proposal for new development, in this case, how the land is to be used and the density anticipated is part of the overall annexation decision. It is concerning that the town is contemplating locking itself into a new office park as the only possible use of the property, while the office and light industrial real estate market is overall struggling. Many similar facilities in more populous areas are either under leased or must now be repurposed to allow for restaurant, retail, churches, recreation uses. In a time when those companies are struggling or shuttering, why do we want to lock ourselves into a new office employment park? I think it's also important that the public is given the opportunity to understand why the land is allocated in the manner that it is in the proposal. A portion of the site is to be granted as open space, but it's unclear why that portion of the site was selected for that use. This land and the land reserved for the future development is closest to the Ridge Leishear traffic signal and existing road infrastructure. In the meantime, the area of the site with no existing access to a public road is the subject of the majority of development. Finally, it's clear that the development of water resources for the town and the availability of sewer from the town are the main drivers of this proposed annexation. I think it is important for the public to be given clear, direct answers on how the IDA would reasonably develop the land without the annexation, without significant capital costs to the county. Is the town giving away too much in this agreement because the county and the IDA are threatening to develop it with or without our input? The immense reduction of fees for infrastructure and limited town inspections on certain infrastructure should at least give a serious pause to all the decision makers on this. And the residents of this town should be given a clear understanding why these terms are necessary as part of the agreement. The estimated water and sewer allotment for 38 buildings with 3 units per building will require significant water and sewer capacity that will be the responsibility of the town long after the IDA and the county have moved on. I'll conclude my comments with the statement that while Bottler Road residents are not within the incorporated town limits, we are proud residents of Mount Airy that support our businesses, our schools, and our community. We hope that the love we have for Mount Airy is returned and that we are continued to be given the opportunity to weigh in on this important town decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. I have 2 other people that would like to speak. Diane, is it Perney? If you could raise your, there she is.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry for your frustration with this whole business, Ms. Chairperson.
Okay. That's okay.
I am going to be, I have a lot to say, so I'm going to talk very quickly, and I hope people listen very fast. Good evening, my name is Diane Perney. I live at 4044 Bottler Road. I have recently sent emails to the town of Mount Airy council members, the mayor, and the director of planning and zoning with some of my concerns about this annexation. In that email, I stated that I was for the annexation. I hereby rescind my backing of this annexation and want to do so publicly.
Okay.
I am currently an administrator for the Facebook group Harrison Leishear Annexation Citizens Discussion. This group has grown in size in the past 10 days since we created it. We have been trying and continue to try to gain truthful and accurate information from every resource available to us, but have found quite a bit of half-truths and misleading information from both sides of the annexation. I've lived on Butler Road since 2006 and in Mount Airy for 25 years. This has become my hometown. My current home backs directly against where the employment campus is wanting to be developed. We, the voting citizens living on Butler Road, have been told by both the IDA, Mr. Dirtsbaugh, and the town officials that there will be development of this property and that there's little we can do to stop it. I think this is a strong arm tactic to get us to back down and agree to this annexation. This land is currently zoned as low density residential and conservation. Without rezoning, the only thing that can be built there is homes. How can the IDA afford to put their own sewage and water waste treatment plan and water filtration system for this plan without tapping into the Mount Airy system? Water waste treatment plants are not cheap. And where can it be put on the property? Carroll County wants to recoup the monies that they paid for the land because of their missteps. The people of Carroll County should not have to pay for their mistakes. I do understand the need of Mount Airy to access water. The town's water woes are directly caused by overdevelopment without looking at the infrastructure needed to sustain this type of growth. It is not the problem of the citizens outside of the town to fix the problems that the town itself has created. It has been looking at this water source for as long as I can remember, but what is the cost? Let me tell you, the cost is slightly under $2 million to the town to develop this land. The proposed area used for employment park is assuming 38 buildings, allowing for up to 5 stories, but we've been told that these buildings will only be 3 stories. That impinges on the current residents' right to a quiet environment. It becomes a nuisance with noise, pollution, fumes, trash, dust, vermin, and lights. It's disturbing our current mental tranquility. It also interferes with the quiet, peaceful, and pleasant use of our properties. In reading through all the documents, nowhere does it provide us with any planned setbacks, screens, or buffers to mitigate the impact on our neighborhood. Dumpsters and service areas should be required to cause no more than 55 decibels of sound at our property line. With the development of a 3-story building, these will look straight into our backyards and homes and do constitute a privacy issue that a 6-foot privacy fence will not block out. We have issues with water impacting our current wells. And as we all know, an aquifer only has so much water. And once we put an impervious surface on it, that water will decrease. I've spoken to MDE and they have been told that these wells will affect our current wells. I have also had issues, environmental impact issues. We've been told there will only be 1 egress, and that would be up at Leishear. And then we were told from the town of Mount Airy, no, it's going to be on 27 and Watersville. Everybody has a different opinion on what's going to be happening here. In closing, can we reconsider where we want this town to go? I do not believe an employment center is actually needed or wanted by the people of Mount Airy. I do believe that the people of Mount Airy do want our water, but are they willing to do so at such a cost? And while I'm here, I believe with all my heart that this is being pushed during the pandemic so the public comment cannot be heard as it would in normal times. I've been told by numerous people that this has been in the works for years. Okay, so why are we pushing it when people can't have an opportunity to be heard? For example, this meeting, it was difficult to get to. It was not really going to be public until we pushed. It's also on the town's Facebook page, but hidden deep down. So many people were calling me and asking me how to get to this meeting. Is that what we consider public? How do we get public opinion when meetings are so very hard to attend and be part of? Also, I was told that anyone wanting to speak needed to contact Mr. Breeding. What is that? That's not public opinion. There are other people on these calls that want to be heard. Just voicing my opinion, I do thank you for your time. And in closing, I would like to be able to find if there are any environmental, traffic, water, or public opinion studies that are available to the public over this issue.
Okay, thank you, Diane. There's one other person I have, Suzanne. Is it Cannoli? I'm sorry if I'm butchering your names. There she is.
Okay, there we go. Hello,
Okay,
thank you.
hi, thank
It's me,
you.
I'm back again.
That's okay.
Thank
That's
you
good.
for redirecting my comments to the correct part of the agenda. My name is Suzanne Canole, and I live at 2904 Clear Hill Lane, up near Roop Road. So I'm outside of the area that we're talking about today, but I am very much a part of small town Mount Airy, and that's what I would like to address tonight. I was in the auditorium, I believe it was in 2000 at Century High School when the master plan was being discussed and the auditorium was packed with people. I believe it was standing room only and people were waiting outside when we fought against a redevelopment and a complete disruption of the lifestyle of Carroll County, and that was shot down. Thankfully, at the time, I wiped the sweat off my brow and said, yes, we won. And now here we are again in that same place. I don't really see this from my perspective because I don't live near the property as an issue of water, or as Diane said, as an issue of noise, or not being able to see above a three-story building. What I really see this as is a question of values, that I've lived in Mount Airy now for over 35 years, and the values that this community holds is what brings us together as a small town community. We've seen it on the news every night that places are going crazy. We have the values in Mount Airy that are opposite of that. And I want to hold on to those values with everything I have. We live in a quiet community where people can have parades for 4th of July and Memorial Day, although we don't have 4th of July in Mount Airy. But, we have the Firemen's Carnival and things like that we want to hold on to. And bringing an employment campus for the idea that, oh, it's going to be great because people that live in Mount Airy can work in Mount Airy. Well, it's not going to happen. What's going to happen is it's going to bring people from outside of Mount Airy into our community, and then they're going to want more things, and then more things will grow, and then we will lose our small town forever. And I really don't want to see that happen. That's why I was so compelled to join this meeting tonight and really wanted to have my voice heard. And hopefully other people will stand up. I see there's only 58 people on the Facebook meeting, and I'm hoping to share and keep spreading the news that this is happening so that more voices in Mount Airy can express their opinions. I thank you very, very much for allowing me to speak tonight. I respect all of your time and commitment to our town and very much appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Those are all the people that I have had sent a message in the chat that wanted to speak. I'm going to go through it one more time. Council members, while I'm doing this, Leslie, do you want to start? I know you said let's wait and see the comments, and then if you have any questions.
Are you done with everyone? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm going through now. I can't, there's questions that need to be answered, but I'm going to go through those too as well.
Well, I guess my questions, it sort of had to do with some are similar questions to what people asked. But when I was looking through this over the weekend, in determining, like comparing what a if the zoning, if the property is not annexed, it's a residential 40,000. Meaning each lot must be a minimum of 40,000 square feet. And out of 258 plus acres, you could have, I guess this is one of my questions, you could have 280 plus potential residences. So my first question is, would the water on the, so let's say it is, maintains this current zone, would the wells and the water on the property be enough water for 280 plus residences, or would there be fewer? I'm just trying to compare, like, what would it be if it stays currently zoned compared to what the proposal is?
And it wasn't annexed into the town.
Right.
Okay. Barney,
So I don't know if Barney knows that.
Do you have an answer or any light, can shine any light on that?
Sure. 280 single-family homes would require about 70,000 gallons a day. So there's more than ample.
Okay. So we figure, depending on the topography, so maybe you couldn't quite have 280. We have those other requirements like open space. So I guess in terms of impact, can anyone, like maybe Mr. Frank or Barney, compare the impact to both the residents who spoke and to the town and to traffic, comparing if there were a residential development of this size compared to what we're proposing with the OPE?
Frank, can I take that?
Well,
Mr. Dirtspot, that's
the only thing I can qualify is compared to 280 homes. If this was totally developed, the traffic will be greater. Because there has been no studies done of the number of occupants for these buildings and the traffic flow in and out of this entire project, there's no way to project at this point what the difference will be. That will come later.
And I have to admit that I've been on the planning commission for 8, 9, 10, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years. And I agree that there's been minimal transparency with the IDA. I mean, I have even someone who's kind of has some access to information. I have not had any understanding or information about what was going on with this property. So can you answer in terms of what some of these folks have posed about, for example, why does the IDA want Mount Airy to annex the property rather than just developing the property itself? Even if it were to change the zone, because the county could change the zone. I mean, it's got its own employment campus zone now. So why does the county and the IDA want the town to annex the property rather than just change the zone and develop it itself?
Well, it was the thought that since this property abuts the municipal property line, that annexation to the town would be most beneficial for the town for all kinds of reasons, and the town would want to reap most of the benefit from it that they could.
Can I interrupt? I've been on planning for like 13 years. And so I was there when Isaac Minash came. I was also there when Isaac Minash took town council out to dinner. And so I've been around a long enough time. And one of the things that was said was that we owed the county because they built us a school. And that was underscored, that we owed them. I'm just gonna tell
Well,
you.
I've never heard this, so this is news to me completely, so I don't know
Right, because
anything
you
about
weren't
it.
you weren't there, okay?
No. Yep.
I'm telling you
But-
what was before your time when Isaac Minash and company came to town.
Thank you, Lindy.
Any other?
Wait. Mr.
Okay.
Dirtspa hadn't finished. What my question had to do with why does Carroll County want the town to annex the property? What Mr. Dirtspa was explaining was why they supposedly thought the town wanted to annex the property. I want to know why from the county's perspective and the IDA's perspective, why did they want Mount Airy to annex the property rather than developing the property themselves, including if they wanted to change the zoning and they can have their, and develop it themselves. That's the answer I want. Why does the county want the town to annex the property? Don't tell me about the benefits to the town. Tell me about why the county wants it, but for their own purposes. That's my question.
Well, the county will get tax revenue out of it that they wouldn't get otherwise if it was residential. And the use of the property being toward the commercial side is a larger tax benefit to the county than residents are. Residents are not cost effective to the tax base.
Right, but why does the county why does the town have to annex the property for the county? Why can't the county just change the zoning and get its tax benefit that way?
Well, our first attempt at this point was to send it to the town's way of offering, if you will, giving the town the opportunity to take the benefits of it rather than the county doing it on its own. I would think that is a, if you will, a golden egg in some respects, not completely, but it's a boost to the town in various ways. I would think that why not have Mount Airy benefit from this and not just the county?
Let me just so if I understand though, even if the county changed the zoning to office development or employment campus, you would still need Mount Airy's hookup for water and sewer to be able to complete that. Did I understand that correctly or not?
You did.
Okay, so.
But they wouldn't have access to it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Judy, with their water that they have right now, they could do it. I think they could build their own water. They wouldn't need to come into the town.
They need water sewage treatment.
Well, if the developer would do it, they would build it themselves. They could build it on that property.
But that costs a lot more than
True. It does. It does.
You're talking, and I know the county's put a ton of money into buying that property, trying to salvage the whole issue with the previous developer. I just have to agree with Leslie at this point. It doesn't sound, I'm not sure what the benefit is to us at this point either, so.
Okay, anyone else have anything on the commission?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and raise this point because it's something that we have been trying to reinforce with both Frederick and Carroll County for many, many years. And that's our preference to have a buffer area around the town and not have county development right up to our town boundary. We want that space. We want the opportunity to have that balance with nature that's so beautiful in our area. It remains to be considered in much more detail. Perhaps the original thoughts of the possibility, the opportunity for additional office park or industrial development at a very, very low density with sufficient buffers as another way to improve our commercial retail revenue share versus our residential share. It's very, very unbalanced right now. And of course, some additional bit of water to support what we'd love to do over time, over decades, in terms of some possible infill is a possibility as well, but not at the endangerment of existing residents. But the thing that I come back to, because every few years we have to reinforce it with the counties, the county planners, is our preference is for the counties not to build right up to the Mount Airy town line.
Yep.
And we're going to talk some more about that. Even if we, chose ultimately to go forward with annexation, we'd feel the same way about Carroll and Frederick.
Sorry, Bill, and I would just add that now with COVID-19, again, it's been said over and over. Office parks now are like malls.
Right.
Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we've been working on this thing so long that now it's a fossil.
It's become obsolete. Yep.
That's true. I travel around a lot. I do see a lot of open space, vacant. That's a concern. I don't want to see any more vacant office space in town of Mount Airy. It's not good for the economics.
We have a lot of empty commercial space as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know if any market analysis has been done, but certainly I can't imagine that there's a huge need for new commercial space when we've got a lot of empty space sitting here.
I mean, some commercial people, I have someone in my office and I asked him about this and he said, there is a slowdown on office space now, but now it hasn't declined. It's not still declining. It kind of has dropped off and they're finding that, it is nice to work from home, but you still need some place to go. So maybe not as much office space as started, but that is, so that you would have office shared space, but I'm a little concerned about that. I'm going to start, Tom, Miss Simone asked about, she wanted some information, and she does have to request that through the Public Information Act. Can you explain that? I don't see him. Maybe he left. Oh, no, there he is up in the corner.
Actually, Roxanne, somebody's got a question in the comments, but they wanted Lindy to clarify. It's Heather Hobbs, Michael.
I think we should allow them to speak.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, but
I'm here. Heather Hobbs Michael is
yeah,
here.
go ahead.
On the Zoom. I would love to speak. Lindy, you made a statement about a council having dinner, and you also made a statement that there was a payback because of school being built. Which council are you referring to? Town council or county council?
This was town council. This was several years ago. Obviously, Mayor Pat was there. It was talking about Harrison Leishear. Isaac Minash was there. Former council member Peter Helt was there. I was invited as chair of planning. Jason Spurrier, who's now he was just town council member.
So you're saying that there was a dinner that was held that was it ex parte, or was there quorum held where
this
people
was,
met
again,
and
discussed? This is before ex parte. This was a conversation about Harrison Leishear. And again, there was nothing about this is a payback. This was just a dinner talking about where we're going. And this was years ago.
I'm uncomfortable with your comments, ma'am. First of all, you said council, you said years ago. It made it seem as though it was an ex parte. Ex parte has actually been in, has been in within our our town council and government since I can remember, which was 1975.
Ex parte was not
So-
in the planning commission, so I'm
No,
just
no,
going
no.
back
I
to.
think what
It's
I
in
think you're
Robert's
talking about
Rules of
open-
Order.
Wait, I think
It's
you're
in
talking about
Robert's
Open
Rules of
Meetings
Order.
Act. Are you talking about Open Meetings Act?
No.
Absolutely. Your statement made it seem as though council met and it was something that was not quite legitimate. So I was a little bit uncomfortable with that. I wanted you to clarify what that was and who was present. So thank you. I appreciate
welcome.
that.
So Heather, I'm gonna concur with what you just said. What Lindy's comment made me very uncomfortable.
Extremely uncomfortable as someone whose father served on council for 36 years and who's been involved with this since the very beginning. Extremely uncomfortable with what was that innuendo, inappropriate, unprofessional, and there needs to be an apology. And I'll take that
confused about-
publicly, ma'am.
I'm
I will take that
confused about-
publicly, ma'am.
I'm confused
Excuse
about
me.
whether you, sorry, go ahead, Roxanne.
Heather, I appreciate what you're saying. I understand your compassion. We need to.
You may certainly move on. My
Okay,
point is noted. I will take that public apology. Thank you.
Okay.
Who are you looking for the apology from?
From Lindy for making a statement that caused questionable. I'm so upset right now.
Wait,
that
wait,
made
wait.
People
You don't think her
listening-
statement was true? So you're, or what?
Okay,
I don't.
I'm
the
confused
way,
now.
No, I didn't say it was not true. The way that it came out made it sound as though council members met with people that had a dinner to discuss that this was a payback for a school that was built in our community, which I find troubling and inappropriate. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
if that's
as a
what
resident.
happened, yes, it would be. So
But
maybe
that's not what
you.
happened. And
Okay.
misinterpreted. What I'm saying, there's what I was told was that this was supposed to be, we were supposed to take the Harrison Leishear because we got the schools. That's another way history conversation. Second thing is, then we had years before that was we did have a dinner and that was open records. It was nothing. It was discussed with Isaac was there. And again, our mayor and Peter Helt and Jason and myself and another town council member who's no longer here talking about where we go. Because we've been talking about this at that time for like 7 years. So I am sorry if you misinterpreted what I'm saying. There were two different conversations and one when I was just beginning of a chair and second actually dinner I attended.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that clarification. My phone is blowing up with text messages because other people took it the same way. So
Well,
that's why
then I
came
apologize.
into the
I want to make a
Zoom.
clarification. There
Thank
were
you.
two different, again,
Okay.
way before I started town council, planning commission, and second, just a dinner which was open to anybody. Everyone was invited.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. You guys get back to the business at hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns?
Roxanne, we do have a couple of citizens that do have their hand raised. Did you want to
Yes,
let them speak?
yes, thank you, because I'm scrolling through the comments as well. So, yes, I will say one thing. There was a comment from Delegate Boucher to all the to everybody. He said that I've got to find it so I can read it right. He said that he is listening and he's listening to all your concerns, and he will work on answering your concerns. I can't find it now, but let's go ahead with those people that have their hand raised. Do you have someone, Gina?
Hi, this is Diane Parney again.
Yes, Diane.
I just want to say the IDA has been meeting with Mount Airy council people for years. And it's not only been in council meetings, and things have been done in the past and I'm assuming in the future because I've dealt with IDA now for the past 5 or 6 years, and they don't do things on the record, and they're quiet and they go around the back way and they don't tell you the full truth. And I just want everyone to know that that's the kind of dealings we're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you. This is, let me read this real quick before I lose it. This is Commissioner Boucher, and I am following this issue and hope to meet with the citizens soon. Okay, the other person that had their hand up, Gina?
Vanessa, you have been recognized and are unmuted. If you can unmute on your end, you can go ahead and speak.
There she is. Okay, hi, Vanessa.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for letting me talk last minute. I am a resident over on 3719 Falling Green Way. So we back up directly to the conservation land. We just found out in our community 2 days ago that any of this stuff was happening between Leishear Road and Carroll County wanting to put the employment buildings, the employment campus up right behind the property. And I mean, I have to say, my husband and I on our second round living in Mount Airy. We used to live on Hoff Court in town limits. We moved back out here to raise our family, to get some country living. And very disappointed that they're trying to develop, a few miles out of town, not even close to I-70. I have worked in construction for 17 years. There are no studies, no environmental, no traffic, nothing, no housing studies going on before they're trying to rezone, which in my world, that's unheard of. And I really hope that the town council helps us not to develop. And I know the water issue when we lived here 10 years ago was a big deal. Even when we were in town limits, when these developers for the residential communities build the residential communities, they need to be responsible for the town, for the town water, not the people outside of the town limits. We're on septic. We moved in 6 months later, our well pump and our pressure tank tanked. And we had to pay $6,000 to replace it. We did not have the town facilities. There is nothing we will get out of this except for having a view of an office park behind us. When we came out here specifically to be outside of town limits, and we specifically said that we wanted to be in Mount Airy because it was small town living. And, we love it. We love it out here. And, I hope that we all can figure this out and not make the residents outside of town have a view of an industrial park. I appreciate you letting me speak right now. And council people, please, think of the people outside of your city that we still support the town. Thank you.
Thank you. One more quick scan, Gina, see if there's anyone else that has their hand up.
Hey, Roxanne, just to point out, there are 2 questions in the Q&A box, not in the chat box.
Okay.
If you go over there,
I see.
One is around IDA members, and if you can get a list of those, because there doesn't seem to be, people can't find that. And what does fully develop all the 40 acres, that additional 40 acres?
Roxanne, can I speak real quick?
Yes, John, you can.
So I just wanted to let the citizens know that, this property was posted in 2 locations on the 12th of August. It also has been posted on our town website. It was sent out to anybody that's on our Facebook link that these meetings were be occurring. This annexation resolution would be discussed. The APFO requirements for the police would be discussed. Again, all this information has been out there. a lot of these people that are talking about parcel 20, which is the EC-13-2020-0030. That's the industrial park or EC zoning that they're talking about, not the Harrison Leishear. So we have to be really careful that we're not getting the two items confused. So I think there's some misunderstanding exactly what's being talked about and discussed this evening related to this meeting and the annexation resolution through the town.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Vanessa Bruneau, who just spoke, was talking about what John's saying, the parcel 20 that is not being considered to be annexed into Mount Airy. And that is zoned conservation, as opposed to the Harrison Leishear, which is zoned residential 40,000. And they are contiguous with each other, and it's a little bit confusing, but yeah.
Well, and they actually are not contiguous.
Oh, they're not contiguous.
There is another
No.
parcel between Bowling Green and the parcel number 20 for the EC zoning request through the county.
Right.
We don't sign a property that's outside the corporate limits. I made sure that we made the public inside town, the property was signed. Again, we made sure that the Facebook was notified, and anybody who has the email request for information related to town events and town stuff, especially on the planning commission site, they would have gotten a blast that pictures of the signage. It had my contact information on it. I was not trying to limit the people coming into the meeting. I've been very generous with giving out the information. Again, this is a new platform for the webinar, except for a couple of glitches, which I'm not sure exactly what they were. Hopefully we can figure that out. I think it's been a very effective meeting, allowing the citizens, the 35 or plus attendees, to be able to have their voice heard. So I think it's been working out very well, but I just want to make sure we're not getting the two items confused.
Thank you, John. Okay, Sarah, you have your hand raised, and I think you're unmuted.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for
You're welcome.
allowing me to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree with a lot of the people here on Boatler Road. We live at 3801 Boatler Road. And I just wanted to add, in addition to all that's been talked about, that a lot of the small local shops that are here in town have really been affected by the outside office buildings and big box places and large high-end, which we have heard is what is going to go in this employment campus.
Oh.
Is what we've heard it's for high-end kind of stores, possibly.
Yeah.
And we just don't know if it's going to be or not. And that's not something that's in our control, I don't think, once it goes into annexing. So I think that's just one of our concerns, is that there is not the need for the office park, but also I just see that the local businesses are really going to be affected by this if they're not already being affected. So that's all I have to add, but I do agree with not moving forward with the annexation to employment campus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm sorry, Roxanne, but I just want to clarify. Employment campus is for the parcel 20 that is not adjacent to the town and not adjacent to Bowling Green. We're putting OPE over this future annexation parcel, not employment campus. Two different animals.
There's one other, Frank, there's one other person.
Okay.
Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, just for some clarification purposes, is the OPE zoning classification available on the Mount Airy website?
Yes, it is an ordinance. It's not on the website. You have to go through the code. You go to Mount Airy code, and it sets you to another link, which has all of our codes and ordinances in it. I was going to speak a little bit to the ordinance about what it says. It says nothing about putting big box stores in there, number
Well,
one.
And that's mostly my point is there's been a bunch of misstatements about what's going in the OPE zone if this is annexed. And I would think it could help some of these people with their concerns if maybe that was posted somehow so it's a little easier to find for those people to read and understand. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve Price, I think, is on the.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Steve.
Number one, I'll address Mr. Dirtsball's comment there. We have read the new zoning. We're not mistaken about what's allowed in there. What might be developed there could be different from what's allowed. What's allowed in there is up to 5-story buildings according to the OPE zoning, amongst other things. Simone Blanchard was 100% correct. Number two, Mr. John Breeding, you mentioned that the property was posted. I want to clarify that. There were 2 very small, 1 by maybe 2 signs posted on that property. One on Leishear Road facing the residents of Jack's Court, nothing facing Route 27, and one on the very north end of Boatler Road where nobody would have even seen it unless they were going to up to Runkles Road. So it's a little disingenuous to say that we posted the property and all of these other things when I've seen larger signs for the Chili Fest in town. So let's be clear about how this was posted and what was put out there. And a lot of folks are just hearing about this just now.
Okay, Steve, let me say, John, let me speak.
Okay.
Let me say a few things. There are certain ways that we post, and it doesn't differentiate in size because of the size of the acreage. I do agree this is a large plat of property. It has been talked about yes. So the posting only comes like 30 days before is the only time that it comes. I understand that the people out of town have not heard about this. However, I encourage you to keep looking at if you had, I don't want to sound disingenuous myself, but we have had discussions and updates on the last 2 or 3 council meetings about this. And there is information on the website. I know sometimes the website is hard to navigate, but there has been some information on it. Maybe not as much as should be. We're learning, and that's why we're asking you to listen. I will also say, and never would we do this, but there are some municipalities that do not let people outside of their town limits to even come in and speak. And we're not going to do that. We allow you to speak. So if we can help you to get the information quicker, please. You've suggested maybe larger signs. We'll look into that. We have 120 days to make this decision. We are not going to make this decision tonight, but we need to hear all of your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hemphill. I would say one other thing. I came to the last town council meeting and I spoke. You were there.
Yeah.
The Harrison Leishear annexation was actually on the agenda and I spoke about it, but there was nary a mention of this in the Mount Airy Gazette, yet there were 6 paragraphs plus a separate article about the town fundraiser for the fire department. And I'm not saying that's not important, but annexing 258 acres into the town is quite important. And there was no mention of it at all, despite having citizen comment and having it on the agenda. So the information is not quite getting out there as we might like.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
There's a comment here that Sarah Hipp made, and I can respond to it, or you can.
Go right ahead. Leslie,
Okay.
I'm trying to find the mayor.
Okay, Sarah, I don't know if you're still on, but even before you spoke, you wrote a question. Well, you said you thought the county already tried to build there to develop the property, and the developer was refused, and they sued the county. And that is absolutely correct. And what happened is the developer won the lawsuit and the county, like, I guess, settled. Anyway, the county had to buy the property back and pay way more than the property was worth. So basically, the lawsuit resulted in the court saying, yes, the property owner has the right to develop the property. So that is, and there are people, I wasn't actually here when that happened. So there may be somebody who was actually around, maybe Lindy was, I'm not sure, who remembers it, you know, in real time, but that's what happened.
Yes, Diane. I was Leslie. Sorry, guys. Think about
okay.
Diane Gleason. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So the county definitely wants to get some money back since they way overpaid for that property.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I forget how much, but it was a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm seeing the comments and suggestions. Maybe it should have been a larger billboard. There's a $23.5 million. Is that what they're saying that it cost for the?
I think could be like, is that the damages that they paid maybe, or maybe they just bought the property, you know, over, I think the county bought the property as part of the settlement.
Dan, let's see, there's another citizen that has a comment. They have been unmuted and they're part of this meeting.
Okay. Danielle?
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Danielle Stoltz. I also live on Boatler Road. And aside from all the comments that you've heard this evening that I wholeheartedly agree with, I just wanted to share that one of my biggest frustrations is the lack of transparency on this. I moved here back in 2011. My husband and I spent 4 years finding the perfect location to bring our daughter and to raise our family. And we were very happy when we got here. I was very concerned back on August 3rd, which was the first that I heard about the development of the Harrison Leishear property. I watched the meeting that evening and I emailed my commissioner because I knew I was outside of the town limit. Commissioner Boucher replied to me and my concerns by saying that the property has been up for commercial development for decades and is part of the county's long-term plan to increase the tax base and provide jobs. He stated that the benefit was desired by many parents with children. As a parent with a child and as a teacher in the Carroll County school system, I have not heard of any people saying they wanted us to develop Mount Airy, to be honest with you. He told me he copied Mr. Lyburn on my request and that I could reach out to him. I did reach out to Mr. Lyburn back on August 26th, and I have had no reply still at this time. I think, as I said before, one of my biggest frustrations with this is the lack of transparency and the confusion as to, you know, what do the different zonings mean, and it could be developed as office, it could be developed as industrial. Mr. Boucher said it would be developed as an office park, and I understand the concerns that I've heard. In fact, Mr. Breeding, when I spoke to you last week, you told me that, you know, this has been in the works for 20 years. And then this evening I'm hearing it's been started since 2009, which is only, you know, 11 years or so. So I think there's a lot of just misinformation and miscommunication, which is why as residents inside the town and outside the town, many of us are feeling frustrated and overwhelmed because there's been a lot of legwork behind the scenes by residents that are, you know, trying to get information from 20 different places. And so I would just appreciate if we could figure out a way to put factual information out there that would be accessible to all of us to be able to hear and truly know what's going on. You know, I recognize that whoever owns the property has a right to development. That's something, Mr. Breeding, that you said to me, and I agreed with you on. But I do think that it's important that we recognize that this isn't a done deal. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we haven't been privy to. And my concerns are that if, as residents, we could just make sure that we know that we're all in the same place. So that's all I have to say. But I do truly value all the time that you've put into this, and I appreciate all you're doing for your public.
Thank you, Danielle. If you go on to the town website, the Mount Airy town website, and you go to the agendas, there is a link on the agenda of the annexation agreement. and the information that we've talked about tonight. As far as the zones and things are concerned, if you go to Mount Airy, Town of Mount Airy zoning code, which is the way that we also do it, you go to a link, and it will give you a link to the different zones. It gives you the table of contents of the zoning book, and then you can go through and look at the different zones.
Roxanne,
Yeah.
can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah,
If you go to the town website and just go to the very bottom of the website, you will find helpful links and you will see town code. And that is probably the easiest way to get to it. And then you do have to look at the table of contents, but zoning is like what, chapter 112?
112.
Yeah,
Zoning
so
is
it's at the
112.
end. So once you get to the planning, but if you go to the very bottom of the website, you'll find the link for the town code.
Okay. The mayor is listening, but he wants to talk, so we're trying to get him in here. I thought Gina, did you send him the link?
Yes, I did, and he has joined.
Okay, there he is.
He's on, but he's muted.
Okay, Mayor Pat, you can unmute yourself, would you please?
So *8 if he's on his personal cell phone, or move the cursor on.
I don't know why he's not in.
Cursor to the bottom of your screen to unmute.
But like I will mention to everyone who's on the call tonight, we have 120 days. And I know this is very stressful. We are in a pandemic. This request was brought to us, to the town council, and they've brought it down to us. So this is the first time that we're having the discussion. And I appreciate everyone that has come on to the call.
Roxanne.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone.
Go ahead.
I don't know if everyone who's on now was on in the beginning when the Carroll County planner, Hannah Weber, spoke, but maybe after Pat, as you conclude this meeting, you might want to again let people know that the Carroll County Planning Commission meeting on the parcel 20 is that's September
the 30th at 6
yeah,
o'clock.
So just to again clarify the difference, and that is a separate thing that's going on at the county level that is also potentially going to impact people.
Hello.
Hi, Mayor Pat.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
That's okay.
This is Mayor Rockenberg, and I was not at the beginning of the meeting, but I've received a lot of texts that some flat out lies were said, and that's very concerning to me. First of all, I want to thank the Planning Commission for being transparent. That's why we're having a public meeting. That's why the property was posted. That's why it's been on social media, because we want to be transparent. We want to get out there. Councilmember Carl Munder has done a great job for the past several months of giving summaries on what's happening on the Leishear-Harrison negotiation. So the lack of transparency, if it's happening at the county level, I can't speak to that. I heard that there were some phone calls not being returned on the county level. We don't control the county level, but we do control the town level. If there's any lack of transparency, I want to know exactly what that is to address it and to address it publicly. But I am concerned about a comment made by Lindsay. And Lindsay, you can tell me if you made this comment, because I'm very disturbed, that the mayor and town council a few years back had a dinner with the county concerning Pars Ridge Elementary, and that we would accept Leishear-Harrison as some kind of negotiation or some kind of agreement. That's a flat out lie.
Yes,
did you
Matt.
make that comment?
No, I did not make that comment. She collapsed two things. I was told years before I joined planning that we were supposed to take Harrison Leishear because we got the school building. And I distinguish that differently from that we had a dinner with Isaac Minash and his cohort years later talking about progressing forward. Two different conversations, two different things. And she
okay, because I never made me or any council
No, I know that,
never,
Pat, and I was
okay,
there, and I cleared that up with her. Okay.
All right, that's good, because I've received about 3 different texts of people saying, "What the heck?"
Yes,
I wanted to know.
When I jumped in and explained to her, no, there were 2 different conversations.
Okay,
years apart.
so good. Let's be very clear. The town doesn't make deals.
Yes,
we don't
I
make
know that,
deals
Pat.
with developers. We don't make deals with the county.
Yes.
And I sent my thoughts out to you. The mayor's position, I wish it would stay farmland. I would love it to stay farmland, and I understand every comment that I haven't heard of that I've read. Nobody wants any development next to them. If I were you, I'd feel the same way. That being said, look at the fact.
You're breaking up, Pat.
Mission that watches things that would actually work with the residents, be involved rather than somebody up in Westminster. But that's the only reason I jumped on, because if something's said about me, it better be factual. And I'm glad to hear that was not said, because that would be a lie.
Pat,
okay.
I was there. I would always tell the straight. And I also say when something was misconstrued or didn't come out the way I wanted to say. But
she apologized. And
okay, that's good.
Yes.
Well, then okay. I just get a little over anxious when I hear something like that, because for 20 years I fought undue development and deals, and I sure as heck don't want to be thought of as being a part of them, because I am not.
Yes,
all right.
Pat, I get that.
All right, thank y'all. Continue, and good luck. And Roxanne, you're right. 120 days. We take all comments. This is going to be a very public process, and we're also waiting on. I don't know if it was brought up. And we have a question of Leishear Harrison on our town survey. No, it did not go out to the people outside of town limits, because the town survey had about 30 questions, and a lot of them are based on town tax base, which is not contributed to by the people outside. So it's money that's going to be spent by people in town. So that's why the survey was only for in-town people, but it did have a Leishear Harrison question on it. We hope to have that response back very soon. That'll be very important to hear what the citizens think. So we're reaching out on every level we can to be transparent. So thank you all very much.
So Roxanne, so what's the next? I hear we have 120 days. I also know that, I've been on the Planning Commission for a few years myself, and I've worked with Frank, and a group of us have worked on developing different regulations, things like that. And I guess I just want to make sure that we have a choice in this, because I don't feel like I don't know how much. I think the underlying comment has been, this is good for us. If we don't do this, we will not be in the driver's seat. And if we don't annex it in, and I guess what I'm hearing tonight is there could potentially be that might not be the position. I just want to make sure that we do actually have some choices in this.
We always have a choice, Judy. You always have a choice to vote however you want to vote.
But if we don't do this.
So if we don't do this, it remains property of the county, the developer, IDA. Yeah. They have a right to develop it however they want to. As it is zoned right now, I think it is in the county. It is the residential with the 40,000 lot,
4 foot lot.
4 foot lots. So when you take the amount of acreage there is, now it's, if you just go straight with that acreage, it's 240 units. But, there's always things that, there's streets and roads and everything, but they would develop it. And that would be out of our control. the county also has the ability, if they would want to rezone it to something else, that also they have. If we felt that it would be a detriment to the town of Mount Airy, we would definitely speak up about that. We have spoken up a little bit about parcel, the EC-13-2020-0030, which I think is, the people are calling it parcel 20. That's the one in the county that homeowner has requested a rezoning, which is, that hearing is September the 30th at 6 o'clock.
Got it.
In the county. That's
In
the
the
Carroll
county,
County
yes.
Planning Commission.
Right, so you would go to the county. Hannah, you're still here. Would you please explain the process if someone wanted to speak about that property?
Yes, we're still working on getting the agenda out since it's a month away. But when the agenda is posted, the agenda will have an access code and a phone number to call in. And also at any time, members of the community can write in on our Carroll County rezoning website. And those comments will go to people in the planning department as well as the planning commission.
And when you say that website is the Carroll County website and then
Yes.
/ something or?
carrollrezoning.org.
Okay, carrollrezoning.org. Great, thank you.
And if you go to the planning, oh, sorry. If you go to the planning department in the directory, on like the little side handle, there's a link for the Carroll rezoning as well.
And I guess I just have one last question. And the reason that we're having to make the decision now versus a lot of the community came out with questions around, why now during a pandemic? Is there a reason that this got brought up now versus 6 months from now?
It was the IDA brought it to the council.
Okay.
It was on the council agenda, and then a request for the annexation. Once that happens, it automatically comes to the planning commission. At that point, we have 120 days. We also have the option to extend it for another 120 days.
Got it. Okay.
That's where we're just starting the discussion. I think there's one other person that has their hand up. Diane, we'll let you in just real quick comment, and then we're going to move on. If any, for.
No, I'll hold off. I would like to say, I would like to see the questionnaire that the town was, people were given. I am a social science researcher, and there are ways to write these things to get the answers that you like. And I would like to see how that questionnaire was written. If I go to town, building, can I get a copy of it?
You have to call them because they're not letting people come in. So yeah, call and ask for the town administrator, David Warrington. He'll help you with that.
What is his name again? David?
David Warrington.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Question for Hannah. I emailed a letter. Okay, here's a question for Hannah.
I was just getting back to her.
That
is the correct email.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So any other commission members have a question? Questions for Frank right now? Okay, I know this has been frustrating. We've learned a lot from this with this format of the meeting. We're going to have to review this and see. I wanted to make sure that, the people, we had the public and the input. We need to review a little bit about how this does. I apologize for the frustrations for people, but we're trying our best to get everybody the input, public input as much as possible. So we don't make a decision. We're going to move on from this. We will be discussing this at our next meeting. So anyone who is on the meeting would like to speak or knows someone who likes to speak, tell them to go to the website, the Mount Airy website, or call the town, and ask for John Breeding, and discuss or tell you how you can get on to the next meeting. Okay. Moving on, we go to future items. John, do you want to talk about the future items?
Yeah, Roxanne, I'll gladly do that. And anybody who had requested the information in the past, I will automatically send them an invite to the next meeting or let them know how we're going to be moving forward with the September meeting. And again, the September meeting will be on the 28th of September. So the future items on the agenda, S180031, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, Lot 8. Again, when it's a future item, it might be this month, this coming month, it might be the following month, but these are items that are sort of in play right now. That was the one site plan you saw. They're putting an additional building in the back of the property. Going to be under the same ownership. It's not being subdivided. It'll be a new building on Lot 8. Then we have Chick-fil-A, S190036, the final site plan, including off-site improvements and amended plat to be attached. Again, everybody's sort of aware of that and knows of that project. The 1401 Ridge Court, which is the Dr. Boaz, Dr. Schwartz parcel that is had come in for the MP district change of the text. He did submit an elevation of his proposed building, and I want to present that to you to get some guidance for him and myself on what type of building we're looking at within the MP district and replacing that existing building that's going to be demolished or raised. And again, I still want to go through the guidelines for doing construction outside the DTZ. We have guidelines. I just want to bring that back in front of you guys to sort of make sure that we have everything covered. I don't think the MP district is inside that guidelines. So my interpretation of the code is that it's supposed to be very much of a residential in nature. Typically, it'd be an existing home that you're renovating and creating an office with inside that existing building. And just want to make sure that it has some clarity and clear direction for any plan or development coming in the MP zone. And that's about it, Roxanne, for agenda items.
Okay, someone said here, is Chick-fil-A a done deal?
Nothing's a done deal until
No.
you approve it.
Yeah, we haven't approved it yet. The next question, Frank, whose decision was it on the IDA Council to move forward with the annexation during the pandemic?
We've been working on this for over 11 years. You know, we weren't waiting for this pandemic to show up to start this process. Timing is what it is, you know, and I think, you know, we were starting to discuss this with the town as far as the legal aspects of creating this annexation agreement a year ago or more. It's been more than that probably. So anyway, it's just a matter of when it all showed up, and you know, all this hit at one time. And okay. I'd have to say, you know, this pandemic's going to end, and none of us have a crystal ball, but you know, life will go on, including businesses that want to get back to what they were doing. They have to in many cases. So, you know, it's not like, you know, everybody's going to go virtual and not need an office building or something like that. And who says this town doesn't need a hospital or need an educational facility that this property would be able to provide for? So, you know, there's a whole lot of things that I haven't even thought about that could go in there that could be so beneficial or needed someday. And we're talking 10, 20 years from now when a lot of these buildings would happen. It's going to take a long time for it to develop. It's not going to all happen overnight the day after this pandemic is over. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next thing is our next commission meeting will be September the 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Before we ask for adjournment, is there any other information, any other questions, concerns that the Planning Commission has at this time? Thank you all very much for all your time and your patience here this evening. If there's no questions or concerns, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. We'll see you the 17th, September 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Frank, for your time.
Good night.